Okay, I know I look freaking crazy, but I had to speak on this because it just came to me. So, first of all, we're in an epidemic. It's an epidemic. Red alert, red alert, red alert. So, I notice for me and for other women, like, at least in America, I don't know about around the world, but it's really hard for women to say no. Like, a lot of us are people pleasers. A lot of us are like, it's hard to say no. It's literally painful sometimes to say no, even when you have to say no to a man so that you can honor the sovereignty of your own body. And I just know that so many women have gotten into like horrible sexual situations that they didn't want to be in because they didn't know how to say no and they were people pleasers, and in the moment they just froze. Literally, so many women have let men have sex with them unprotected because they were people pleasing and they didn't know how to say no, and they felt extremely uncomfortable, and they just laid there like a flopping fish, and they didn't say no, and they just let it happen, and they just let a man like literally molest them. And this video is probably gonna get flagged. I don't know what the YouTube rules are, but like, I'm so concerned. I don't think I even thought about this. And I used to like, I've definitely judged women before, like women who were like loose, women who slept around, women who like had high body counts and all these things. And I don't think that we like really acknowledge like the mental health aspect of it, or just like the lack of training for women to be able to say no. And I thought about this because I went on a date and this guy kept trying to like slide his hand up my leg, not on the date, but like when we got into the car. And I was like, cut it out right now, don't touch me, like cut it out. And at first I was a little nice about it, but then he kept trying it. I was like, cut it out, like I'm not kidding. And first of all, I got like a whole adrenaline rush from even saying that. I was like, what the hell? Like, this is my body. Like, you don't get to just touch me. Like, have you lost your freaking mind? And then I thought back to like a younger, quieter, weaker version of myself who might have felt like, this is a big man and I'm like trapped in his car. Like, it's a little bit scary to really assert yourself in that situation. But you know, I'm grown now. Like, don't touch me. Do not touch me. And my grandma really instilled that in me anyways. But like, it's just really scary. And so the next time that you think you're gonna judge a girl for being loose or sleeping around and this and that, I would just say, like, you don't know what she's been through. You don't know her wiring. You don't know what she's healing from. Like, just be compassionate, have an open heart, because you know, like, it's hard enough. Okay, life is hard enough. We don't need people to be mean to us too. We don't. Okay. And if you are that girl who has struggled to say no and has ended up in these situations that you really didn't want to be in, but it just kind of happened and you didn't know how to stop it, like, I love you. You're worthy of love, and it's never too late to start again. Like, it's not. I don't care what these people say, like, oh, you slept with these people and now you're ruined. Don't listen to them. Like, don't listen to them. It's never too late to start over. Practice saying no. Say no in the mirror. Say no to, like, you know, just small things maybe that your family asks you to start feeling comfortable. And then also, as women, I would say, like, obviously, like, this guy who was trying to molest me we were just in the car after a date after he was dropping me off. But one, like, if you don't know a man, this was our third date, so I let him pick me up. But, you know, maybe I could have waited a little bit longer before I let him pick me up and before I'm, like, alone in the car with him. So that's one thing I could have done. But, like, definitely don't be letting men into your apartment, hotel room, home. And don't be going to their apartment, hotel room, home, because men have a lot of testosterone. They do crazy things. Women struggle to assert themselves and say no, and I just don't want you to get into a situation where you lose control and you can't stop it from just turning in a direction that you don't want it to go to. It would just make most sense that until you're ready to sleep with a man, you don't be alone with him in like a private place. You just only go to public places with him. And men actually tell us that all the time. Like, we call it victim blaming, but whenever like women will come out with like those allegations and they'll be like, oh, we were in his hotel room and then he forced me, blah blah blah. It's probably the exact situation I'm talking about. She went to the hotel room and then she didn't know how to stop the situation, and it was very uncomfortable, and you know, she didn't like it, and she's traumatized afterwards because that's not what she wanted to happen, and she didn't know how to stop it, and she felt scared, right? But to him, like, he didn't really see it like that. And then men, like, we always call it victim blaming, because the men afterwards will be like, well, why was she in a hotel room with him? You know, and they're confused. And you know, I don't think it's fair for us to like villainize men who feel like that, because that's just how their brain works. Like, if you're not going to, if you don't want things to go in that direction, why are you going to be alone with this person, like, in a situation you can't control? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I see where they're coming from as well. And I also agree that as women, we should really, really, really do our best to avoid situations like that, because it's hard. Or even like, say you let a man fly you out and you don't want to sleep with him, and then he's doing all this stuff for you, and then you start to like feel within yourself, like, he's not telling you this, but you start to feel like obligated because he's doing all this stuff for you, and then you end up sleeping with him and you don't really want to, but you do it, and now you feel like he bought you, and he probably subconsciously feels like that too. Like, all I had to do was take this girl on a little vacation and she opened her legs. Like, he's thinking that, you're thinking that, and it's not a good situation. So I just feel like, as women, one, practice saying no, practice getting out of those situations, like, have excuses up your sleeve that you can pull out. And then two, do your best to avoid being in those situations, period. Like, don't be alone with a man who you don't trust fully with your whole body and your whole heart. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. I know, like, I'm Gen Z, so a lot of times they'll be like, men should be able to control themselves, and men need to know about consent and this and that. And that's true. That's true. I think that we should do education from both sides. Like, yeah. Because, like, when a woman is literally just laying there like a freaking dead animal, and he's just like going at it, I don't know what happens in a man's brain, like, when he gets turned on. I think that he blacks out or something. I don't know, because I've seen men like who are like turned on or whatever literally act so out of character and crazy. Like, they're like on their knees begging, like, you know, you're like, oh my God, you're embarrassing yourself, like, don't act like this. But he's just like so turned on that he really wants to see it through, that he'll like say or do anything. It's actually concerning. So we're like, men need to learn consent, men need to learn consent, and they do. They do. But I'm pretty sure like something shuts off in their brain when they get to a certain state. And so don't be alone with a man at night when he's going to definitely be in that state, and you look all sexy and stuff. Like, it's just not a situation you want. Even if you do know how to say no, like, you don't, like, literally, I've had a man like on his knees before, and I was like swatting him off. Like, it was so uncomfortable. It was so weird. And like, he's like a big, strong man. Like, I never seen him act like that, but it was very, very weird. I'm glad it happened now, because I think it like taught me a little bit about the character of a man. But I was just like, I don't ever want to be in a situation like that again. Just don't even let a man near. Ew, like, it's disgusting. Keep men far, 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 far away, and on a very tight leash until he's completely earned your trust. Because like, they're unpredictable. We don't know what they're gonna do, and we just have to protect ourselves at the end of the day. Because if something happens, you know, they're gonna victim blame you. And so just be ahead of it and really think things through, and try to avoid like those kinds of situations. It's unrealistic to be like, oh, I want to dress sexy and I want to hang out at a man's apartment and he should not try to touch me. Because then if he does that, you're like, he's gay. So just don't do that. Peace.